It's good to speak to you, and thank you for taking the time to speak to us at Jeppe Boats and Blades.
Thank you, Greg. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm more than happy to share my story with the club and help you guys out.
Wonderful, thank you. Let's go straight to those questions. First question: why rowing? What drew you to the sport in the first place?
All right, so I'll try not to mumble on a bit. So my joining rowing was actually a bit of an accident. I initially came to Jeppe for rugby. That was my passion. But back then, you had to do a summer and a winter sport. So I figured the best thing for me to do would be basketball. So during school time, we got separated into our summer sports, and I said, I'm going to go do basketball. So I went and sat up where all the basketball players were sitting. And one of the coaches at the time said that he's never seen me before. He came up and he said, no, I've never seen you before. You're not getting away with this. You can go sit somewhere else. So I wandered around. We were in the Memorial Hall at the time. And I saw a group of people that were sitting down. I knew these guys were doing cross country, chess, not very athletic people that I would know about it, So I went and I sat down there, and one of the rowing coaches came up and asked for my name. I just said, no, Bryce Massyn. He said, cool, I'll see you on Monday at 9 o'clock for a 1 kilometer ergo trial. Arrived there on Monday, had no idea what I was signing up for, didn't know what an ergo was, no idea what this thing, how to move it. They put me on for 5 minutes just to get a little bit of basics. And then they said, cool, here's a kilometer, you can start. And that's probably some of the biggest hell I've ever been to on an ergo trial before.
I hear you.
I remember jumping off of that and going, I never want to do this ever again. That was honestly, I remember the time, it was a 4:25. And Muhammad actually came up and he goes, that was good. And I thought, you know what, okay, if it's good, I'll give it a shot. So I gave it a shot, went to the camp, and that's when I fell in love with sport. My dad often says, it was the weirdest thing for me, because he came home. I came home one day and I said, Dad, can I have 1,400 rand? I said, for what? Going on rowing camp. What's rowing? Oh, you'll see later. I disappeared for a week and you didn't hear from me. So yeah, and it was really there that pulled me into rowing. I fell in love with my friends there at the time. I also fell in love with the atmosphere around it. You're sitting there, you're on the water, 2 sets of 3 hours a day, and you're moving, and you feel it's the same thing over and over, but it's different, and there's improvement, and you can constantly see improvement, and that's really why I stuck to it. But John, in terms of joining, 100% an accident. I did not go and seek rowing out. I always say that rowing is not something you seek out; it's something you stumble upon and fall in love with.
It finds you. This is absolutely true. I don't think we've interviewed probably 50 people, and out of those 50 people, there's maybe 3 or 4, not even that, people who knew that they were coming to row, and that's because they had older brothers who rowed, and that is it. So that's a very normal story, to be honest.
Actually, I mean, it's quite sad. You think after the London Olympics 2012, people would be more excited, but I don't know. I think that's also, again, what just makes rowing so unique. It's like I said, something you stumble upon and fall in love with.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, no, for sure. So, I mean, Bryce, you rowed 2010 to 2014, and then from 2015 to 2019, you coached at Jeppe. You want to tell us a little bit more about the time that you had there and how that impacted on the rest of your life, on your adult life?
So yeah, definitely. I'd have to say, as an athlete, I got taught quite a few lessons. One of the biggest ones was humility. Whether it was on a 2K ergo trial or out on the water itself, you always find yourself quite humbled when you're realizing that you can't really carry the team by yourself, and teamwork is the dream work. Teamwork is what makes the boat go. Thinking back, as we were moving up, we got faced with a lot of challenges. We weren't really the biggest team ever. I remember by the time we got to Matric, we had our first days had an average crew weight of about 62 kilograms. So we were always the underdogs. And it was kind of that fight that we learned there. So I'll say this, the biggest lesson I took from Jeppe rowing is no matter how down and out you are, fight your way back up, right? Put in the work, put in the effort, and eventually you'll get rewarded. I saw this quite a lot. I was humbled in my under 16 year. I was very much humbled when I thought I was a shoe in to make the first 8. And I missed it by a couple of seconds. So put my head down, put in the graft, and 2 seasons later, rowing captain of the club, and absolutely an irreplaceable asset in the boat. So that was just from my time as an athlete. Moving into the coaching section, that was a whole different story. I thought, I saw the coaches, I thought it's easy. You get there, you get on the water, you teach a kid how to move his hands, his legs, and his body, and they're fine. That was not the case. Coaching taught me the meaning of responsibility. You're getting there, you're managing so many little kids, and everything's on your head. It was a hell of a lot different to being a captain. Captain, you're the image of the club, but as a coach, you're the backbone. You're what's helping hold the club up. As much as you can have the best athletes in the world, if you don't have a good coach who doesn't have good time management, who doesn't know what they're doing, it's going to fall apart. So it kind of, it made me look back towards some of my coaches and just give them a lot more respect for dealing with us and making sure that we were okay, that we had the right equipment, that our blades were set, that we can make the most of what we had. And that kind of just carried on through. I learned so much and was molded so much by Jeppe rowing. I always say it's the point where my life turned around. I used to think that I was a bit of a brat when I was coming in. The world was owed to me, and Jeppe rowing came in and not aggressively, but very forcefully put me in my place and made me see that, listen, you've got to be part of a bigger picture, and you've got to help contribute to it. And that for me is something that you won't find at any other school. And also, there's just something I also wanted to add. The best thing for me is how Jeppe treats the word tradition. So typically, tradition has a bit of can have a positive and a negative context. Usually when people think of tradition, it's like a repetition of something over and over and over again, and the things of the past, bringing them back. But to a Jeppe boy, everyone I've spoken to, they treat tradition as more of an ethos to uphold. They say tradition means more you're living off the past of the people who built this club up. So, get some backbone and help stand it up tall. So that's just a little snippet I wanted to add in. I wasn't sure where I was going to get it in, but definitely my time at Jeppe, it's something that I absolutely love and adore.
Cool. So that Jeppe tradition. Yeah, no, that's fine. But that Jeppe, it's a Jeppe rowing tradition, but it's a Jeppe school tradition as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeppe boys are known for the kind of people that they are, in terms of respect, in terms of honor, in terms of just basically getting down and doing the graft. It's tenacity. There's a lot of things that go into that, and we're known for it.
Yeah, and brotherhood as well. I mean, that is one of the, you see it at all boys' schools, but I have yet to find students, anyone who feels as passionate about Jeppe brothers. Whether it's someone who's just graduating or someone who graduated 50, 60 years ago. When you're able to make that kind of connection, it's always brilliant. I ran into a Jeppe old boy 20 years ago who graduated. And we were speaking about the same teachers, and we were having an amazing chat there. We spoke about the school and the type of things we used to do, and that's what you'll find. There's such an age gap, but that kind of connection that you make with someone, Sorry, that's just but that's the Jeppe boy. That's every Jeppe boy, and that's also it's an integral part of the rowing club itself. Because every Jeppe rower is first and foremost a Jeppe boy.
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons why the Jeppe Boats and Blades initiative has been so successful, because of that tradition and because of that brotherhood. So absolutely agree. So and that leads nicely to the third question: is as Jeppe Boats and Blades, we're busy building a community. We committed to equipping the club to make sure that the current guys and the future guys get the best equipment possible. So what are your thoughts about Jeppe Boats and Blades and what we're about effectively?
So I've expressed this before. I'm a massive fan of the Boats and Blades initiative. I honestly wish I could contribute more in my own capacity. But I believe that, as you've said before, we've stated, we've had a bit of a chat. The things Jeppe rowers lack the most is the equipment. That is how we fall behind in the rowing capacity. It's rather unfortunate, but it is the truth. You won't find many more boys with the heart and the passion and the drive to want to succeed. And the Boats and Blades initiative, which is providing new equipment, which is helping grow the community, as you said, which is just, it's allowing the current community of Jeppe boys the opportunities that we didn't have in the past. Just speaking from my time, I mean, we must have gotten 2-3 boats if we were lucky when I was an athlete. And unfortunately, the last boat we got, it wasn't good quality. It was a rushed mess. And we do thank it, but you can see it's a little bit worn on the years, and I don't think anyone wants to row right now. But yeah, like as I said, I feel every Jeppe boy wants to find a way to contribute, and I think the Boats and Blades initiative is kind of a channel that's going to help those Jeppe boys and those Jeppe rowers especially contribute through and just create like a more narrower channel that they can actually see something fruiting. They're actually able to see the fruits of their effort coming through. Previously we've had charity drives and all these kinds of things that's trying to help us raise money, but it was very hard for the Jeppe old boys to actually see it. Every now and then they saw like a picture of the first date on Facebook or something. But the Boats and Blades, you guys have really made it known that, hey, Jeppe old boys, you're putting this in, here's what you got for it.
Yeah,
and it's
there's the results. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thanks for that. And we so at the end of the day, we are providing a channel, as you say, and but it's the community, and that community is growing. I think we've maybe touched 35-40% of that community so far. There's still 60% to go, and those people are spread and distributed across the world. We're very fortunate. We speak to people in the States, Australia, New Zealand, France, England, and so that community and the guys just knowing that there's something happening is a great thing, and for them to, as you say, to give back, whether that's financial or just in terms of building the community, speaking to us, doing these interviews. It's all going to the same thing, and it's fantastic to see. Guys are keen. Guys are really keen just to be part, as you've said yourself. So that's brilliant. So yeah, the next question is always a difficult one. From your time as an oarsman, can you give me maybe one, try maybe even two significant memories that you wanted to share with us?
All right. So this one was quite a difficult one to try and think about. I tried to think of it more I tried to think of one example from when I was a rower and then one when I was a coach. And I think I'll start with the athlete one. It was probably one of the most impactful parts of my rowing career. I'll try not to ramble on, but some of it does require a bit of backstory. So boat race 2013. My crew and I were going in, we were the underdogs. We had made the worst final the previous year in about, I think, 6-7 years. And it was effort, and we lost it at that. And there was a couple of us in the crew that raced that previous race, and we remember how much we dreaded it, how much we disliked it. But the four of us there, we made a pact. We didn't exactly like each other, but we tolerated each other. And we said, no, we're going to make 2 finals higher, and no matter what, who we fight in that final, who we race against, we're winning. So the finals came. We made D final. We made our first target, and it was the long-awaited rival, Jeppe versus Kez, the one that every Jeppe boy says about. We get in there, we're about 20 kilograms lighter than him per person, per head. Like we stood on paper, they were the kings to win. But we sat down with our coach, who was Ryan Thompson at the time, and he said, boys, no matter what, you got to trust the process. And here's how the plan is going to unfold, piece for piece. Right. We also had Ati there with us. He was there, he was directing our cocks, and he said, listen, you're going to be aggressive and you're going to drive these boys home. So we hit the course, and as sure as day, they take 2 lengths on us out the start. And we put our head down, we grit our teeth, we feel the salt crystals in your blisters, you know, it starts burning after about 2 kilometers, but we start catching up. And we don't get the right of way to get around the corner. We don't get the right of way to get Kez to move over as they have the inside lane. As we're coming up to what we call the killing fields, our cox goes, boys, dig deep and remember. So we all had to say one memory, one of the most painful experiences training up until boat race. Some guys broke their toe. Some of the guys, they remember the salt in their hands during the training. Some guys remember the 20 Ks on the ergo we had to put in a day for about a month and a half. And we gritted our teeth and we went. And he took a nice wide line. We hear the Kez Cox say, push 10, push 10, push 10. This is continuous. He's driving his men into the ground, and we just stroke by stroke by stroke by stroke. We pull forward, we get ahead, we grit, we dig deep, we trust the process. Eventually we pull ahead and we keep that lead, we maintain it. No matter what, we see them pull closer, we give 10 hard strokes, no matter what. Anytime you think someone's thinking, I had a friend at the time, Brad Perry, he used to have a fantastic idea. He said, every time I think this isn't looking good, I put in 10 extra strokes. I need to punish myself. I need to punish myself for thinking bad. It's a fantastic, fantastic one. And we ended up winning that day. We ended up winning with one of the lightest crews on the water, just because we wanted to, just because we trusted the process. And that for me is one of my fondest memories. We got off the 4 guys. I mean, we're still mates to this day. I can phone them up and I can say, remember that time we beat Kez, and they'll have a good laugh and they'll remember it. So yeah, that was my capacity as a rower. As a coach, one of the best things for me was seeing a crew. We had this group of under 14s, and they weren't gelling. On paper, they were absolutely amazing. We had ergo times that should have been shattering course records, but we couldn't for the life of us get them to gel. Nothing was going right. The timing was off. Everything was off. And my co-coach and I at the time, we said, no, we've got to sit them down, and we've got to get into their heads, and we've got to find a way to get these boys, you know, motivated and get them to gel together. So we sat down. We had a really passionate talk with these young gentlemen. They're 14 years old. They don't know better about the world. They don't know anything more than we knew when we were their age. So we just let on them a little bit of experience, and we kind of drew from our own past experiences. And the end result of it was we ended up telling them, gentlemen, if you guys come together today, you will make Jeppe history. So we set them off. They got up to the 1K mark, and they came down the course. They hadn't won a single medal the whole year. They get to the 250 meter line, and we can hear the cocks. You know, the typical call, go for home, where all the boys dig in, they drive. We hear that call, and we just see that there's a boat out in front, the one that's been winning the whole year. And we just see stroke by stroke, length, length. They catch up, length, length, pass, length, length, finish, gold medal. I believe it was the first time in 15 years that a Jeppe under 14 crew had won a gold medal at SA Champs. And for me, just watching these kids that had started off not knowing how to row, one of them we had to teach how to swim, didn't know how to swim, but we eventually got them there. And watching them cross that line, having them come off and seeing the joy on their face, that's something that you don't get to experience often as a coach. Watching a crew that's had nothing the entire season suddenly come up as that underdog, as those guys that weren't there. I think it's something for me, because I've always, like I said, I've been an underdog my whole rowing career. and seeing that and seeing the culmination of hard work, hard hours, hard labor finally pay off at the pinnacle.
When it counts, yeah.
Where it
For
counts.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. And they'll never forget that either. They'll never forget that either.
No.
That's going to stay with
No,
them.
I hope they don't. I'll have a word to say if they do.
Trust me, they won't. Well, Bryce, thank you so much. Those are brilliant stories. So thank you for sharing that with us. It's been really great to speak to you, and I'm sure we will have more conversations. But for now, just in terms of everybody else watching this, guys, you've been inspired today. There's lots of stories like this, and Bryce, thank you for your inputs. And we'll call you Coach Bryce, and we'll take it from there. And everyone.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much. Just I want to say this was awesome. It's always great just chatting to a Jeppe old boy, Jeppe old rower, even better. And yeah, just if anyone's watching, thank you so much for tuning in. And I really look forward to seeing how the boats and blades are going to play out in the future. I look forward to seeing when it reaches its optimal capacity and the strength that it can reach. And yeah, I'll be here helping out as best I can. I'm happy to do interviews. I'm hoping to put a little bit more effort in the future. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Excellent. Okay, John, we're finishing the interview now, so I'm going to pause the recording, and then
started from about 2000.
I'm just going to record this again.
Yeah, no, so it's I think it started from about 2005, 2006. Apparently there was a little bit before then. But there was something called the captain's curse. And what it was is for, I think it was about 10 years, no single Jeppe captain had been able to break 7 on a 2K ergo trial. They had done it before they had become captain. They had done it after they became captain. And this is just something of a little bit of an arrogant pride for myself. In my year, I said, I'm going to beat it. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do it. The year before me managed to get 700.1. That was the closest thing. So yeah, I got down. I didn't. It was more of a mental thing. I set up speakers. I set up fans. I said I'm going to give myself the best possible shots I had. I got the best erg, and we sat down. And I said all I need to do is hold 145 and a little bit lower towards the end. So got on, grafted, 1,000 meters in, and I could feel my legs burning, and things were not looking good. I saw that we had the projected finish on at the time, and it said they're 7:02. And I said, no, this isn't happening. I'm not having this. And I sunk it in, and I remember I bit my tongue, and I could just taste this metallic blood like dripping down my throat. And I started going, and the legs are screaming at you, and your entire body is telling you to stop, but you start seeing the seconds tick down. Projected finish, 7:01.5. 7:01, 7:00, and it stays there, up until the last 250 meters. I close my eyes, I put my head down, and I start pulling, I start going. Everyone's shouting, everyone's around me. There's people, they've gone, they're under 14s, they're running around, everyone's yelling, he's gonna do it. I'm not listening, I'm pulling. I finish, I get off, like you're done. I feel Tomo, he hits me on the back, on my back. I fall off, I collapse. 6:59.9.
Yeah, wow, brilliant.